Hey YouTube, getting ready to start working on the rat rod, get it ready for Cleetus and Cars at Indy, April 18th. I know you guys have seen the vehicle in the background and I talked about it in my previous video, and I wanted to give you a runaround of what the vehicle is so you know what we're starting out with and give you a better idea of where we're going to go from here. It started off as a 1940 International. It was a 2.5 ton dump truck that I used the cab and the grill shell there off of, and the frame that's underneath it is a S10 frame. I took the S10, shortened it 40 inches in length, and Z'd the frame in the back. It is on air ride all the way around. Still has the leaf springs in the rear to locate the rear end in an overload type capability. The front suspension has airbags in it, but they are not rated heavy enough for what we're lifting, so they make the suspension ride rough. We're going to switch those out, get a little bit better ride out of them. It's running a small block 350 that was originally a ZZ4 crate engine that's had the head changed. I'm running a steel head that is a Vortec head that has been converted to be able to run the old style intake. Other than that, it's running a nice little Edelbrock 650 carburetor there, and gets great gas mileage and has plenty of horsepower for the application so far, but we may have to bump that up to get where we want to be. The chop on the top is 8 inches of chop. You can see I took 8 inches out of right here in this area here, which means you have to lengthen this area right up here. And the old bed on it, it was just made out of some old street signs there. That's the arrow signs for the end of the road there. It's got a nice steel tonneau cover on the top of it there. I end up using it as a workbench, more than my actual workbench. I've had lots of fun vehicles over the years. This rat rod's been the most fun. You can beat on it. You don't have to worry about tearing it up. If you tear it up, you just fix it. It's got a lot of scavenged parts from a lot of different vehicles on it. I'm kind of a junkyard picker, and I love putting things together and making them work, even when they don't seem like they normally would. I can usually come up with some fun combinations. We'll get started on getting some work done. We're going to start out putting in this MSD ignition box. We're going to use the instructions here for the 4-pin HEI module. So I really wanted to be able to mount this out here on the firewall, but it turns out these units are not totally waterproof, and without having a hood, that's probably not a good idea. I'm going to mount it in on the inside of the firewall, right in behind this distributor, and I'll bring the wires through the firewall here, and looks like we've got 4 wires that need to go to this distributor here. We're going to go in, get some of this out of the way. I'm going to try to leave the plug wires on and just pull this back, save me from having to put those all back on. And we'll go in here and get started. Okay, so down here in the bottom, we pulled the cap and the rotor. We got the ignition module out of the way here. Had 3 screws in it, took it out. We're going to reuse this plug right here, and that'll plug back into our cap when we get done. The weights on top of here, they say 60 on them right there. I'm going to look that up. I'm not sure. I think that I know you can get adjustable different weights and springs. We'll see what this distributor cap, or what this whole distributor might have been out of originally, and make sure that advance works in the range that we're looking for. The vacuum advance over here is still hooked up and appears to still be working. So we're going to need these 2 wires here for the magnetic pickup to trigger on the MSD box, and then those other 3 wire plug that I showed you. That'll be what triggers the coil to work, and the MSD box gets rid of that module that was right here, so we won't need to put that back in. So we'll go from here. next thing we got to do, since we got this all wired up, got the wires all tucked in out of the way. Of course, when you lay under here, you see all the things you did wrong before, and you think, well, I ought to put a zip tie here and move that and straighten out that spaghetti bowl over there, but we'll get to that one day. Anyway, we need to take these little rubber covers off right here. We need to set our rev limiter on this motor. This unit has a nice little diagnostic light over here to the side. Tells you if your battery voltage gets too low to operate or anything like that. Well, here she is, all fired up and sounding nice. Well, YouTube, I hope that maybe I showed you something that might be useful to you someday. How to install that MSD streetfire ignition. We got everything all wrapped up, and I took it down the street, runs good, and check back in later on in the week for another episode. Thank you.